Hello and welcome to The Master's Voice, the podcast series on Mediabrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla, and with me today on this very special episode is somebody whose presence makes me extremely happy. Why? Because this is the man who pioneered the world's leading short movie entertainment company, ShortsTV. No guesses. Carter Pilcher, Chief Executive, ShortsTV, is our special distinguished guest today. Carter, welcome to The Master's Voice on Mediabrief.com.
Thank you, Pavan. It's great to be here. I've looked forward to this for a long time, and I'm thrilled that we're finally able to connect.
Carter, you are always a very self-effacing man. That's all I can say. But thank you very much. We are indeed proud, delighted, and honored to have you on the episode today. And thank you very much indeed to Priya Shetty of Genesis BCW Mumbai for having facilitated this conversation. So, Carter, before we get on to our conversation, which is going to be very, very interesting because I love the ShortsTV format of programming, let me first do you the honor of introducing you very, very quickly to our listeners. There are a lot of youngsters who might not be very, very aware about you because they might just be starting out. Many are students, many are very young professionals. So, for all of them, here goes. Carter Pilcher pioneered the world's leading short movie entertainment company, ShortsTV. Since 2006, ShortsTV has produced the annual theatrical release of the Oscar-nominated short films, distributing it to movie theaters around the world and digital sell-through platforms such as iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play. The theatrical releases of the Oscar-nominated shorts is now a firm fixture in US and Canadian theaters, and in 2019 grossed over $3.5 million at the US box office. Carter is a voting member of both BAFTA and the Short Film and Features Animation branch of the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences. And as we know, ShortsTV is the first and only 24/7 linear and OTT HD TV channel dedicated to short-form video entertainment, including movies and series. With over 13,000 titles globally, ShortsTV has the largest catalogue of quality short-form video and is the global home of shorts. The ShortsTV India film catalogue features Academy Award winners and nominees, international festival winners and nominees, Cannes, BAFTA, etc., high-quality CGI animation as well as cinematic gems from international independent filmmakers and local Indian filmmakers. The catalogue includes more than 1,000 hours of content across English, foreign and local Indian languages, including Hindi, Bangla, Marathi, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada and Malayalam. Distributed globally, it's available across India on Tata Sky as Tata Sky Shorts TV, Dish TV as Shorts TV Active, and on Airtel Digital TV as Airtel Shorts TV. It's also available on Airtel Xstream. So that is the special, the stellar professional, the leader, the visionary who created ShortsTV, who's my very special guest on this episode of The Master's Voice on Mediabrief.com, Carter Pilcher, Chief Executive, ShortsTV.
Well, Pavan, thank you so much for inviting me to join you. It's something that I've been looking forward to for a long time. You all have such great, amazing, really, roster of guests, and I'm thrilled to be one of them.
So, Carter, tell me about ShortsTV. Obviously, that's going to be my first question. The story behind its birth, its growth trajectory, initial problems and opportunities, and how you built it to where it has reached today.
You asked about ShortsTV. I started off life, I've taken a few career changes. I started off as an astronautical engineer and studied that in school and worked as an astronautical engineer in my first job. I then went to law school at night and worked for a United States senator in Washington, and then was in investment banking for 2 or 3 years and decided I really wanted to start a company that highlighted short films. I love short films. I've always loved them, but I've never been a great writer or director. But I thought, I'd love to produce short films. I'd love to bring them to audiences. So I left investment banking, started a company here in London. I was living in London at the time, and started our company here in London, called it Brit Shorts. And we started collecting a catalog of films and putting short films online for audiences to view. It didn't work very well. I tell people the quicker way. I had made some money in banking, and I tell people that the quicker solution would have been to just go to a cash point, take all my money out, and burn it. Would have been what kind of happened during the first 4 or 5 years. And like all filmmakers, all people who really want to follow a dream, it was tough. There were times, and I'm not kidding, in big companies, we do these deals and sell big companies films. We work for Nike, we work for some of the others. And for big companies, a $10,000, $50,000 payment sounds crazy huge. Little companies, but to a big company, it's nothing. They forget, they don't pay you, and they delay. There were literally times when I didn't have enough money in our bank account to do anything but walk home. I walked home several times from the office just because I didn't have 2 pounds for bus fare. And when you run a small company, you got to make sure everybody gets paid and all your suppliers get paid, and you're the last guy that gets paid.
Wow.
So it was a big learning experience for me. I'd been in banking, I'd run senator's office, I'd worked for the government. So it was a big adjustment, but it was a lot of fun. And even though at the beginning it didn't seem to work out that well, we had a great time and we found great films, and over time we built it into a real business. And I have to say that's been one of the real enjoyable parts of what we've done, is starting small, building something, mostly living on a dream, because I hadn't produced films before. I didn't really know what I was doing. And nobody was doing many things in short films, but building it into something the journey was really part of the fun.
So Carter, you were actually a qualified engineer and also a banker. And when in the initial period, you came across and encountered problems, what kept you from saying, hey, I can always go back to banking? What kept you there?
Thank you, Pavan. That's an interesting question because, as you know, it's always a number of factors. One of the biggest, honestly, was that my father and my uncle had invested in our company. And most difficult part of the entire thing for me was having to tell Dad and my uncle that I'd failed. So I think that helped me a lot, but not just that. In a very real way, I love the whole process of telling stories.
Wow.
I think it's an amazing gift. And in our culture, we have guys like George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, politicians John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, all of whom told great stories, amazing stories.
Yes.
And the more you go around the world and see these amazing stories, cultural stories that are different in each culture, but often with some of the same lessons or plots, it really is a joy to be able to bring those out, help get those on film, which is now such an amazing medium to tell a story by. And so I would say, on the positive side, that ability of uncovering stories, of finding them, creating them, figuring out how to make them into a compelling film, that has been something that really has kept me in this business, even though sometimes it's not very fun.
Right.
Most of the time it's great fun, but sometimes you just need that extra little bit of like, why am I doing this? And it's about the stories and the people who tell them and the lives that you get to see into. It's a great calling.
Absolutely. Tell me about it, Carter. Even I am from television in India. I was part of the team that launched Sony Entertainment Television. So CID, Hatina, Bhavar, Mahai, they were shows that I was working with.
Yeah.
And it's a major mainlining fix. Nothing less than that.
Yeah.
Time to take a little break. This is your host and friend Pavan Chawla. That voice you were listening with me on this episode of the Master's Voice on Mediabrief.com is that of Carter Pilcher, Chief Executive, ShortsTV. Taking a short break. Be back very soon. Don't go anywhere. And we are back. I'm your host and friend Pavan. Chawla. With me is Carter Pilcher, Chief Executive, ShortsTV, and this is The Master's Voice, the podcast series on Mediabrief.com. Right, Carter. So now we heard about the initial trouble-filled days, challenging days, and I'm glad they happened then.
Yes.
In your life cycle of ShortsTV. Tell me, where are you now? How happy are you with the fact that ShortsTV has made a place for itself and a name for itself? What is the size of the market globally for short video content, if I may just call it that, and the global footprint, your content library, what kind of genres, how many genres? Give me the infographic elevator ride kind of speak on it.
Yeah. Well, first, I think part of the success and what we're uncovering today is somewhat scientific. And that is that most people are more like me than I ever imagined. And that is, I struggle maybe sometimes to watch long movies. But wow, a short movie, a short story really grabs my attention.
Right.
And I think it's something that's been happening in Bollywood for sure. You know, people used to watch 3 or 4 hour movies, and now they're watching 90-minute movies, and now they're watching 20-minute movies.
Right.
I think our attention span is changing because of the busyness of life, and content has to kind of fix itself into that life that we're now starting to live.
Absolutely.
So ShortsTV has really, that shift in attention span is something that we at ShortsTV have benefited from greatly. When we started, it was kind of, I used to have to explain to studio execs and people that we were pitching what a short film was, and they would often say things like, but would anybody watch something short? Now, they say the exact opposite. Would anybody watch something long?
Right.
So we've built we started in the UK, and we launched our first channel, television network in Europe, in France, on Numérique Câble. And it was a ShortsTV. France was completely in French. That has now grown into a pan-European feed that's in a lot of countries, France and Netherlands and Belgium, Italy, Spain. We've launched an American version of ShortsTV back in the United States, and there it's covered it's in millions of homes on DirecTV and on lots of the cable operators. We launched a Spanish language version called TV Cortos for Latin America, and TV Cortos is all over Latin America. Now we've started in Asia with the place that I think really has the sense of storytelling that is very similar to American type of stories, these big, fantastic, fabulous stories, and that's India.
Right.
And so we're thrilled, just as we've seen the growth of ShortsTV and the interest in short films and the size of the catalog. We have more than 13,000 films. It's something like 6,000 or 7,000 hours of movies. It's something that I never imagined anybody would have. We've really grown into. It's just a very exciting place to be. We have more shorts than anybody else on the planet.
No, that's really wonderful. Another big thing that ShortsTV did was in 2006, was it? The partnership with the Oscars.
Yes.
Tell us about that, and how did that fall in your lap?
Well, it didn't really fall in my lap. There were a couple of people, distributors in America, who were taking a few of the Oscar-nominated shorts each year and putting them in theaters. And so you could buy a ticket and go see 3 of the 15 or something. It's kind of a crazy and very bad program. So I went to the Academy of Motion Pictures. I sent a letter. I don't know if you've ever written here in England. Kids write letters to Santa Claus at Christmas time. So I sat down with a little company here in England. I'm an American, but I wrote a letter to the head of the Academy of Motion Pictures. And I said, "Dear Mr. President, I really would like to distribute your shorts. And please, let me have a meeting with you." Well, he didn't let me have a meeting, but he sent the letter to one of his guys who does the short film awards.
Wow, Santa was busy.
Santa was busy. And so I went out, I flew out there and had a meeting with him.
Wow.
And said, the problem is these things have to get into theater. And so they agreed. They said it's crazy. Nobody will ever go see them. Even the Oscars guys didn't think people would see them. So we did. And that first year, we worked with Magnolia Pictures in New York and with Apple, with iTunes, to release them on iTunes. And nobody thought they'd work. And they did. We were in maybe, 70 or 100 theaters.
Wow.
Max, and only for a few days. We probably made less than $50,000. It was pretty small.
But really audacious, Carter, because here is a guy who creates and makes and believes in and, swears by short films, and actually went ahead and took the shorts and gave them theatrical distribution. What was it in 2019? $3.5 million?
A little more than that. 3.6, I think, in 2019.
Amazing.
And it's become, in America, going to see the Oscar-nominated shorts every year has become a thing. And, it's in theaters all over the country. People line up in New York City. We do it exclusively with a theater in Lower Manhattan. And there are hundreds of people on opening night, hundreds and hundreds of people lined up to buy tickets.
Wonderful.
It is every year. They come every year. And it is the most fun thing I've ever done.
Excellent. Time to take a little break. This is your host and friend Pavan Chawla. That voice you were listening with me on this episode of the Master's Voice on Mediabrief.com is that of Carter Pilcher, Chief Executive, ShortsTV. Taking a short break. Be back very soon. Don't go anywhere. And we are back. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla. With me is Carter Pilcher, Chief Executive, ShortsTV, and this is The Master's Voice, the podcast series on Mediabrief.com. Okay, now the India story.
Okay, yes.
How big is the Indian market for ShortsTV? I mean, I see that you are on 3 DTH platforms, and I also know that there are a couple of other entities. That one sells documentaries, another one sells something else, but the short format stuff, which is slowly but getting very tiny numbers because they're not mass numbers of subscriptions. What is your feeling on ShortsTV? Because if you look at Facebook, if you look at all the other social media platforms, which are also YouTube also is an OTT basically, and a lot of short content really does well there. So what is the size of the market in India for short films, short TV? And also, what are your plans for it?
Well, let me just tell you about India. India has a history of making very long, fabulous, over-the-top, amazing Bollywood pictures. It's something that everybody, it's a genre, it's something that everybody in the world loves, but it's kind of a niche outside of India. It's a niche. You kind of do beer and a curry and watch a Bollywood film. It's fun. The Indian film industry, until recently, hadn't really tapped into the storytelling that it has now. We kind of weren't sure that it was there until I saw some of the movies made by a director in India that I thought were brilliant. The guy's name is Anurag Kashyap.
Yeah, Anurag, yes.
And he has made some amazing shorts. And he's kind of started a movement among young directors in India that is totally overturning this whole, I call it the new Bollywood type of movie. That is real, honest, kind of gritty, sometimes very funny, but really kind of at you stories that are not fantasy, but they're real. And he has really developed that and made short after short after short after short. Anyway, I went to a festival or something, saw a lot of his films. And then I saw a number of other films that have come out that are kind of in that same move. In China, they talk about the first wave, the second wave, the third wave of directors. But I think this is kind of a new created, and I think really Anurag, as far as I can tell, is the guy who's primarily responsible, created this new wave of directors that are telling a new type of Indian story that really actually reaches beyond Bollywood and reaches beyond the Indian experience to the international experience. And that's what I think is amazing. So we have now directors in India who are telling stories that an audience in Latin America goes, oh my gosh, that's me. That's my family. That's my mom. You're right? And that is powerful. And so that when I saw those movies, I said, we've got to go find a way to start working in India because these are great stories.
Oh, and I'm so glad you came into India because short films, short stories are real favorites of mine, if I speak personally. And it's the most difficult kind of fiction to write actually is a short story because you want all your acts together and they are crunched into maybe 1/5 or 1/6 or 1/7 the size of a normal novel. So when did you enter India with ShortsTV?
Well, I started going to India trying to get somebody to pay attention to ShortsTV in about 2017. We finally got a deal done. The guys at Tata Sky, I have to tell you, are very forward-thinking, and we're very excited about the opportunity in India for shorts. And so we worked very closely with Sky to develop ShortsTV for Tata Sky in a way that we thought would interest the Indian market. And that was where we started.
Yes, indeed, Tata Sky is very forward-thinking. And I actually want the name of the person who you met. Was it Harit or was it somebody else, the forward-thinking person who said, hey, who saw value in ShortsTV and decided to take it on?
Well, the guy we met with was Abhishek Patak, but Harit has given his guys a lot of latitude. He's a very forward-thinking MD, and he definitely lets his team try things out. And we're so thankful for that because Tata Sky is a fabulous brand, and it was kind of that ability to try it out that set his guys free to risk short films. So we were really thrilled to start with that.
Great. And then what was the journey like in India?
Well, the journey since then has been great, and it's been definitely more exciting, I think, than Tata Sky predicted. Certainly more exciting than we predicted. And we have really found an audience. We have hundreds of thousands of subscribers on all the major DTH platforms, and we are able to bring them the best short movies, both the international movies and the best short movies being made in India, and that is very exciting.
Right, and we were very excited when we heard about Tata Sky and ShortsTV tying up. We covered it extensively.
Thank you.
Okay, Carter, next, a passing bird asked me to ask you this question. What are your OTT plans for India? I know you have the plans, so you can either deny them or you can say the time is not right. Tell me what is.
Well, we have lots of plans.
Wow.
We're very excited about India. And I'll tell you kind of the shape of where we think the plans are going. As we see the market developing, the first, of course, is we're providing a curated experience on ShortsTV.
Okay.
And we view ShortsTV itself like a film festival. If you, Pavan, want us to program for you some great shorts, that's what we do. If you turn on ShortsTV, you'll get to see that. We're also about to start the process of launching an app with thousands and thousands of films. And what we have seen, we've been testing it in the United States and in the Netherlands, and what we've seen is that our viewers watch short films on mobile phones and on their TV differently than they would watch longer form content.
How differently?
Well, let me ask you this question first. What do you think is the most successful short form content that has ever existed?
I can't really put my finger on one thing, but you tell me.
I can tell you one thing that is the most successful short form content. It's known by this very strange name called music.
Clever.
It's a four-letter
You got
word.
me there.
Four-letter word called songs. A song. And a song is the most successful short-form entertainment ever. And people who watch music, songs, they would like to like it and skip it. They want more like that. And Spotify and some of these others who have created catalogs, online catalogs of songs, have really done a lot of work to develop a methodology that we can watch and listen to songs by in a way that we like. And Shorts TV, really, as we have looked at our consumers, we found that they want a lot of that same functionality. They want to be able to like a film. They want to be able to skip a film. They want to be able to create a playlist and watch a lot of animations or a lot of comedy or a lot of horrible horror or, whatever, or films that make you feel anxious or films that make you feel relaxed. So we're building the Shorts TV app, which is going to be rolling out soon, with exactly that same type of functionality. So watching films and building playlists becomes part of what you do. And then you can share them and like them. I think it's going to create it's marrying two types of technology, short movies and music functionality that are kind of now 20 years old. Nobody's thought that they're anything amazing, but when you put them together, it's an amazing experience.
Okay.
Pavan, one of the things we see is that our audiences in the US are watching films 3, 4, even 5 times as long each week as they watch them on TV when they watch them on the app.
Wow.
So if they're watching TV for a couple hours a week, we're seeing them watching the app 10 hours a week. Numbers that are just incredible.
Yeah. Excellent. And for the India app that you are developing, has it gone into any sort of under the radar test kind of runs with selected audiences?
We are about to start doing some selected tests, and we'd love to have you, Pavan, as one of our audience testers.
Oh, lovely. I'd love that. Really.
Yeah.
Time to take a little break. This is your host and friend Pavan Chawla. That voice you were listening with me on this episode of The Master's Voice on Mediabrief.com is that of Carter Pilcher, Chief Executive, Shorts TV. Taking a short break. Be back very soon. Don't go anywhere. And we are back. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla. With me is Carter Pilcher, Chief Executive, Shorts TV. And this is The Master's Voice, the podcast series on Mediabrief.com. So in your India plans, what will be the kind of mix international is to Indian? Obviously, Indian content and regional content will be much smaller because, you've been around globally for so very long and you have been encouraging Indian producers, etc. to come to you with their content and you've been showcasing it. So what is the likely mix one can expect? What are the kind of languages? Will you also be taking international good hit short films that you've had and sort of dubbing them or just giving subtitles, customizing them for Indian markets?
We've been doing a bit of experimenting. In the West, the preferred way of viewing short films is generally with subtitles, original language with subtitles.
Right.
We're trying that in India. I think it's for some markets that seems to be good, some parts of the Indian market, but we're finding, and in fact, we've just started an experiment where we're dubbing film. And we're in Hindi, and we've just started seeing how that does. So I'll have to report back to you soon, in a few months on that, but we're just starting to see, we're doing a comparison of viewing hours and seeing whether people, and asking audiences what they prefer. If they prefer original language with English or Hindi subtitles, or whether they prefer dubbed into Hindi, and we're doing that in a number of films. One of the groups of content that we've started having a lot of success with, also in India, are regional, originally produced films. So if you're a Maharashtri and it's a Maharashtrian film, we're finding that those are quite successful, and especially in the South. There are many films produced in Karnataka, some of the other places, some really fabulous movies, and we're working to bring all those together for audiences.
And by when do we expect this app to come out?
It's coming back to us from the developers in September. We'll start doing some testing in September and October, and we're hoping to launch beginning of the fourth quarter, before November.
All the very best, and I will await your invitation to be one of the guinea pigs, the happy guinea pigs.
We'd love to have you as a guinea pig. Thank you so much.
So Carter, what are your top 3 favorite titles? The top 3 favorites from the planet's largest library of short films.
The first, I would say, is a film by Martin McDonagh. Martin McDonagh, fabulous director. He recently did a film that was nominated for an Oscar, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I don't know if you remember that film from a couple years ago. And his first movie, he had been a theater director, was Six Shooter, and it was nominated for an Oscar in 2006. Fabulous movie.
Okay, so that's number 1 for you.
Number 1. Second film that I think out of all the ones internationally is really special is an animation called Their Story. It was the first Oscar won by a Chilean in history.
Wow. And
fabulous short animation. And I would say the third and fourth are tied. Anurag's film Churi, to me, is absolutely one of my favorite shorts. And then the film Curfew by Sean Christensen, which won an Oscar in 2012 or 13. Curfew, so there are 4, not 3, but 4 really great movies.
Wow. Excellent. The number of short film or video content makers who have benefited from Shorts TV worldwide because it gave them the platform and allowed them to produce or, acquired their films. And how many of these are there in India?
Well, so we had very few building up to launch there in 2018. But I would say since we've launched in 2018, we have released more than 2,000 films from India on Shorts TV. And we've done something else. We are really committed to the Indian market and this new breed of Indian movies and storytellers. We worked with the Academy of Motion Pictures. We started 3 years ago a Best of India short film festival. I think the first year 3,000 entries, or maybe 2,000. Second year 3,000. This year we've had maybe 3,500, 4,000 films from India. Lots of them are people's first attempts, so they're maybe not that great. But out of all of them, we found some fabulous movies. This past year, we had a movie that was submitted that was one of the winners. I think the winner was one that Ronnie Screwvala produced, and it starred Vidya Balan, called Nutcut, which was an amazing movie. We've had one with Nazruddin Shah in it, who's an amazing storyteller. We found a lot of great movies, great acting. So we are thrilled. We qualify the winners, the 5 top winners we release in theaters in America and give them a theatrical run in Los Angeles so that they qualify for Oscar consideration. So all of them have qualified. All these top 5 every year. We qualify at least 5. I think some years we've qualified as many as 10. But it's something new that's happened for short films in India. Me, as a person, I am personally committed to the success of Indian filmmakers. I think the stories there, it's a very unfortunate thing. India has been kind of isolated because it's such a big market, and it hasn't needed to reach out to the world to tell its stories, but the world has missed this opportunity. So I personally we brought in several great filmmakers from India into the Academy of Motion Pictures in the past few years, just because that I've sponsored or worked with to bring in, because they hadn't been considered in the past. So I think it's an amazing moment for Indian filmmaking. It's kind of, the storytelling has changed. The stories are starting to reach international audiences, and I think now the filmmakers are becoming more part of the international development and script writing scene. And we at Shorts TV think that the most fundamental first base step of that is getting the short film world connected, Indian filmmakers when they're starting out connected to the international world of film. And we're really committed to that.
Wonderful. That's really very nice to hear. How does any short filmmaker who aspires to be seen on the Shorts TV platform, how does he get in touch with you? How easy or difficult is it? Do you have a nice streamlined process? Because every Indian is a story writer and a filmmaker at heart.
Well, and some of them tell some very good stories. Anyone can go to the Shorts TV, shorts.tv website and fill out a form and send us your film, and our guys will look at it. We love and are looking for as many films as we can find.
And you will only look at films that are made and ready to be viewed, not a concept.
Short films, are more at the risky end of the film business. We're talking to people who are just starting, not always. And so especially when people are beginning, it's difficult to know if they can take a vision they have in their head and recreate it so that it tells the story that they hoped to tell.
Right.
So we normally only fund films from people that have experience, that have had success in telling stories. But normally our guys prefer to see a finished film, not a concept.
No, Carter, I completely agree. The best thing that you are doing actually is at least accepting produced films and giving them an opportunity to be screened by experts who have worked with you and perhaps sort of internalized your kind of instinct to look at, and point out and seek out a good short movie making. So really nice. Carter, another important thing that could help the short format is if you would try and give it what you did for it in the USA, similarly taking it into theatrical distribution, perhaps topping and tailing or in the middle of an interval of long format movies or whatever you have in mind. Any such thoughts?
We've done a couple of things. We brought the last 2 years, we brought the Oscar-nominated shorts to India. We released them this year on virtual cinema with one of the largest distributors in India. The year before, we released them actually in theaters. And we have been bringing some of our releases of short film packages and releasing those on virtual cinemas this past year in addition to the Oscar short. I think we're exploring with some of the larger production companies how we might give some of these shorts a release. They have to lose some advertising, which is a challenge. But I think for audiences, it would be much better if they were able to see a short and a feature together.
Absolutely. And more strength to you. I hope you can bring this in because, if you look at radio, you can only listen to Bollywood or, other language movie songs. The private bands are starving for listeners.
Right.
And now they're all going digital with small little, platforms, which is good, very good for them. There are some big ones also. But similarly, theatrical exhibition is only for feature films. So I think if you can sort of, put a foot in the door for the short format, it might just really augur very well for the whole thing.
I think you're exactly right. That we've got to bring, shorts are great entertainment. And short film festivals are just lots of fun. Going and listening, watching, 5 or 10 shorts in a package at a theater with an audience is a great experience. we're definitely committed to that.
Time to take a little break. This is your host and friend Pavan Chawla. That voice you were listening with me on this episode of the Master's Voice on Mediabrief.com is that of Carter Pilcher, Chief Executive, ShortsTV. Taking a short break. Be back very soon. Don't go anywhere. And we are back. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla. With me is Carter Pilcher, Chief Executive, ShortsTV. And this is The Master's Voice, the podcast series on Mediabrief.com. So Carter, you're also working as a voting member not only of BAFTA but also the short film and feature animation branch of the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences. So what is it like being a member there, and how does it help you help short filmmakers?
Well, you know, the Academy of Motion Pictures and BAFTA as well for British filmmakers are two groups of some of the best filmmakers in their genre or category. And, you know, in each of these organizations are organized into guilds, kind of. So there's a group of short filmmakers and feature animation makers. We're all together in one branch. The directors are together, the producers. And the great thing is we get to set all the standards, and we get to really look at what's happening, what kind of stories are being told, how they're being told in cinema, and what things deserve to be awarded and to be highlighted. It's an amazing power. And one of the things that is, I think it's a very exciting development, but terribly important, that we expand membership and include more people, not just from the United States, but from Asia and India in particular. And so we're very excited, and I think we will be seeing more and more of India's well-known directors becoming members of the Academy of Motion Pictures.
Excellent. So Carter, your personal value systems, I know that you're a determined guy. I know that you're also very, very well qualified and you've tried everything, but you in the end pursued your heart and you created this wonderful, wonderful entity called ShortsTV, which is really entertaining people who love short video content. What motivates you? What inspires you? And name one person who's been a true inspiration to you and why?
Well, what inspires me, I think, like many of us, hard work and the idea that life is ultimately fair in some way, and that if we work hard, we will be able to enjoy at least some of that return. I think that's the first value, and the second, I think, is that life needs to be fun. And maybe part of why I've found myself in film is that people are interesting, life is interesting, and it's a great way to move forward. I've had so many great, positive folks in my life. I think all of us have, but I think you always have to imagine my dad probably is my biggest inspiration, and my faith has been a very big part of my inspiration. Just that the idea, and I think from both of those I've learned that we as individuals are important and valued, and that's as we apply that to storytellers and to individual stories. Those are the kind of things that we look for in stories, to try to find redemption and people who are taking bad circumstances or tough moments and turning themselves into great people. That's been a real motivation for me.
That was really interesting, very inspiring, and I'm sure that your value systems will really be a bit of a guiding light for others also. Tell me, who is the one person who has inspired you the most in your life?
The one person that's inspired me the most in my life, the story, and it's a story, and it's maybe why I'm in this industry. It's the story of this kid. It's an ancient story and it's in our faith tradition, but this kid who went out and threw rocks at a giant and killed him and became the king of his country. That idea that little guys who work really hard and they're good people may come out okay, I think has probably been one of the most inspiring people for me. It's a story, but it's a person. I think all of us, my hope for everybody is that we'd all go out and kill our own giants.
Absolutely, Carter. Well said. And, amen to that. Right, Carter, I have enjoyed myself. This conversation with you has been very, very insightful. What do you think of the little chat we've had so far?
This has just been absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed this chance to just reflect because I think it's really important. We're all moving forward at a quite fast speed, and I think it helps often to kind of put together what we've done. I appreciate what you're doing with Mediabrief.com. It's a great, great place and great series of podcasts. And, I think it's giving opportunities to entrepreneurs, to media professionals in India, a chance to kind of look into each other's lives a little bit and see how we can motivate each other and push each other forward. It's great.
Thank you, Carter. Thank you for giving us your time and your presence on this show. And thank you very much indeed to Priya Shetty of Genesis BCW Mumbai for having facilitated this conversation. Thanks again, Priya. Carter Pilcher, Chief Executive, Shorts TV, was my distinguished guest on this episode of The Master's Voice on Mediabrief.com. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you find this conversation as insightful as I have done for myself. And I am really looking forward to the arrival of Shorts TV with its own app in India. And till that time, or till we meet again with yet another master on The Master's Voice on Mediabrief.com, this is your host and friend Pavan Chawla saying, take care, stay safe, bye-bye.